boys and girls. All right, Chris Avens here with Wi-Fi Training, and today we're going to be configuring a Cisco 9800 controller. And I've got one up here that I've got a console connection into. This is just the day zero setup kind of thing. I actually have this lab built. I've been working on a course over here with this pod 1 with this 9200 switch and this 9800 controller. And I've ran into some problems with the AX211 chipset connecting to OWE networks. And so, long story short, I have a Dell Precision 5570. I have tried 8 different drivers. I've tried rolling back, I've tried moving forward, I've tried BIOS updates. The AX211 chipset, in my opinion so far, 5570 is the computer I'm on, does not like OWE. So one of the things that we're going to try is I'm not going to upgrade the pod I'm on, but we're going to move to this guy here. And basically we're going to install 1712 on this controller. And hopefully that's going to help us remedy some of our problems. Maybe they're not with the AX211, maybe they're with the iOS version that we're running. And 1712's Cupertino, it's going to be the next massive release for everybody as soon as it's a golden release. It's not quite a golden release yet. But long story short, we're going to set this up. Now I haven't actually configured the switch or anything yet either. So there's a couple configurations there, but I figured this would be a good time to just show that configuration basically. Just get us something set up so we can rock and roll here. So what we'll do is we'll use the Ether channel link here, and then we will make sure the VLANs are on the switch too, and we'll use this uplink port 23 as our trunk, and then basically we're going to do all the DHP and all the routing and all that kind of stuff from up there. It's not the best way to do it. Like I said, this is typically configured for something else, but I thought maybe since I'm having to go through this work anyway, maybe just do a quick YouTube video, and that would be fun. So that's what we're here to do. All right. We have about 8 different 9800 courses that are already released out there, but they keep releasing new software, they keep releasing new APs. We're constantly learning more and more about them, right? Even as people that deploy hundreds of these things all over the place. So like all this new Wi-Fi 6E goodness, okay? So it sounds great, but unless you can make each of these protocols work properly, how effective is it? Now we do have SAE working, okay, for WPA3. That works on the same code. We also have some other, we have the WPA3 and 802.1x configurations working. So it's not that it all doesn't work, it's just that OWE makes sense for certain things, right? For like guest or for contractor access or things like that, where you can just quickly get encryption between the user and the access point without any supplicant configuration. So it sounds great. We just want to see that work on 6 gigahertz, and it works great on 5. But we want to see it work on 6 gigahertz. And actually, I want to clarify, that's where it's falling apart right now with the AX211. If I do a dual band SSID, and I push that out on 5 and 6 gigahertz, which is very common for 6 gigahertz, don't try to do just 6 gigahertz only, because I can tell you right now, with any chipset, with the iPhones, with the Android, with whatever, it's not going to roam well, okay? If you do 6 gigahertz only. And eventually it may. But as of right now, we're just not seeing it roam well. So we typically do 5 and 6 gigahertz so that we can keep discovering those channels. And basically, sometimes it'll roam to 5, then it sees that there's 6 gigahertz available, and it moves over to 6, whether that's MBSSID or one of those methods, right? R&R fills, whatever. The R&R fills really if you're doing the 6 gigahertz only, but like I said, hasn't been working too well for us in production yet with Active Expert. So, all right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get in here and start chopping away at this. So I've got my 9800B controller, and I also have a 9800 switch 2 here. Okay, so I'm going to move these down here just to make sure I do not get them confused with each other. So the first thing we're going to do is you see this is day 0. Now the switch also. I will say that I hardly ever remove the VLAN.dat file, so hopefully our VLANs are there, but everything else basically should be gone. So we're going to do config T, we're going to do host name, switch 2, IP domain name, Wi-Fi training, We're gonna have to fix that real quick. So let's do line con 0 so we can see what we're typing. Logging synchronous. There we go. Now I can see what I'm typing. That's gonna help. And now we're gonna do exit IP domain name. And we're gonna do Wi-Fi training .local. And you're getting this map flapping because we've got that ether channel link that's not configured as an ether channel. So if I do show VLAN right now, all my VLANs are still there. Okay, so that's good. And if I would do my show CDP neighbors, I want to make sure that I see, and I'm not seeing the switch on the switch 1, right? I should be seeing that. I'm not, so I'm gonna have to check that in a second. But let's just configure this and get it going, and we will go from there basically. Okay, so we basically have just the one AP and controllers. So real quick, let's go ahead and take care of that MAC flapping thing. So we're just going to do interface range gig 1013.14, and we're going to do we'll do 10 under group 11 because I used 10 for the other one. Okay, so int P011. We're going to do switch port mode trunk, spanning tree port fast trunk. Okay, now that'll take care of that flapping interface. So I'm going to also make sure, I'm going to assume my topology is right for now, even though I'm not seeing CDP neighbors. That's not a good sign. But it says we've got gig 1023 connected between these two switches. So I'm going to configure that as my switch uplink on this switch, just so I've got access to those VLANs as well. So we're going to do interface gig 1023. We're going to do description. Say this is link to switch 1. And actually, I should be seeing that over here if that is truly connected on switch 1. So let's take a look real quick. And it looks like yeah, I don't think that's actually what that is. So we're going to come back to that, figure out what's connected to my switch, but for now, I'll tell you what. All right, so that was actually not the right port, so we're going to change that real quick. So we're going to do interface gig 1023. We're going to do no switch port mode trunk, no spanning tree port fast trunk, and what else did we do? No description. All right, so we've removed that. Now we're going to do interface gig 1012, and we're going to do a description link to switch 1, spanning tree port fast trunk, and then we're going to do switch port mode trunk. Okay, and if we do our show CDP neighbors between these two switches, you see that now we've got that switch 2 on port 12. So we're going to do config T, interface gig 1012, switch port mode trunk, spanning tree port fast trunk. All right. So now we have a path between the two switches for these VLANs to work on both sides, yada, yada, yada. So now we can start on our 9800B controller. And again, we're going to start off, if you do a show VLAN, you notice that there are VLANs in here, but there's nothing else configured. That's because I have a bad habit of deleting the VLAN.dat file. All right. So we're going to do this as hostname C9800B. Let's go to linecon 0 so we can see what we're typing. Okay, so now I've always got that line at the bottom with logging synchronous, right? So now I've got we've got a host name, we've got a domain name. We need our NTP, okay? Actually, before we do that, I'm going to grab our clock statements. Because last time we configured a controller and we did the clock adjustment at the end and it messed up the web interface, right? So now we're going to do our NTP server 10.1, 10.1. Okay. Now it doesn't know how to get there yet because I don't have a management IP address, but you get the point. So what we're going to do is go ahead and put on a username. Okay, there's a username, and now we've got to do our management interface. So we're going to do interface VLAN 10 description in-band management. Now, I've talked before about this, guys. There's a gig 0 port on all these 9K devices. That's for out-of-band management. Some people choose to have a management network because of all the new automation, and a lot of people are doing Python and or DNAC, things like that. So it helps to have an out-of-band management network. Just don't get that confused with the in-band management on a wireless LAN controller, because your in-band manager is your AP manager. Okay, that's really should be the source of the entire everything. That for these smaller 9800Ls, that needs to be your primary interface for everything. And even on the big guys, TACAX, right, radius, all that needs to source from your in-band management, in my opinion, because this is the virtual interface that's going to be mapped to your redundant distribution interfaces, those ports, those 10 gig ports, right? Even on the copper devices, you got 20 gigs of throughput. It's pretty insane. So we're going to give it an IP address, NVLAN 10. We're going to do this as 12, or we'll do it as 11, that's fine. Okay, so now we've got a VLAN 10. The next thing is we've got time configured. Okay, if we do show clock, we can see that time is configured. It is wrong. So we just got that interface up. So let's do a ping real quick. See if we can reach anything. We can, so that's good. So we should be getting time source here any second. Unsynchronized, right? So what we're going to do now is we need a default gateway to get to the other networks that we might need to route to, right? There's our clock set. Okay. Our clock is right now. So we've got NTP set, we've got our time set, we've got our summertime, all that kind of stuff is done, because time is incredibly important with everything nowadays, honestly. But with wireless LAN controllers especially, because you know, CapWAP is based off TTLS, right? It uses certs, okay? So time is very important. If you set the clock back to year 2000, for example, you'll see everything fall from the sky. APs won't register. You wouldn't be able to authenticate. It gets really bad really quick. So make sure you've got time. And the other important thing for wireless, remember, wireless deals with a lot of regulations with frequency use and channel use and power use. So in order to tell the controller to be safe and not get a day zero setup message, you know, if I go to this controller right now, okay, just like I showed you, if you see the other videos, right? This one's going to be on YouTube though, but if you see the other videos and we go to .11 here, I can get to this website. And now that I've got a default route and everything, but it's going to come up with a day zero setup script, okay? Why? Because it doesn't know that it's a wireless LAN controller yet. I mean, it does. It knows it. It knows it's going to be, but it doesn't know the details of it to meet those regulations. So therefore, it's going to send you to this day zero setup wizard, right? Looks something like that. So we don't want that. What we want to do is just finish this and bypass all that. So the next thing you have to do is tell it needs a country code. It needs a wireless management interface. So we're going to do wireless management interface VLAN 10. Now all the 9800 physical boxes have a MIC from the factory. Okay, so that's it. That's all I have to do to define the wireless management interface, and that will work. If I do show mobility, wireless mobility, you'll notice that now I've got a wireless management VLAN and a management IP address, okay, IPv4 of course. I've got a mobility MAC, we'll talk about that later, but basically that's there, and I can do a show wireless mobility wireless management trust to see it has a certificate, right? It's using the Cisco IDEVID SUDI, right? And there's a MIC and there's a certificate hash and all that kind of stuff. So basically it knows it's a wireless LAN controller now, but it doesn't know which country it's in. So now country is very important, and there's two ways to do this, and depending on the version of code, it may be looking for either one. So we typically do wireless country as a global thing and put in US, okay? The next thing is AP country. So we're gonna do AP country, and it's gonna yell at us though, because you can't just change the country code with the radios up. So we're gonna do AP country US, and it's gonna say, hey, networks must be disabled. So we're gonna do AP.11 2 shut, yes. AP.11 5 shut, yes. This version of code 17.5 doesn't support 6 gigahertz yet, so we don't have to worry about that. So we should be able to do AP country US, yes, and there you go. Now we've got a country code defined. Now if we go back, okay, to our web GUI, it should bypass that day zero setup script, okay, because we've got all that stuff defined, and now we should be able to manage the box. But I've noticed that it's in a couple, this might just be the Chrome or something doing this, but it should bypass it right away. Normally, once I've got country and all that kind of stuff there, it is good to go. So I wonder if I can, I'm betting that's just cache stuff. But let's check this out. Let's see if we can connect on this guy. Yeah, you can see it's not wanting to go there, which is the funny part, but it is still trying to bring in this PNP stuff, right? So a reboot is all that's required, and it'll take care of that. Almost got it there, but so looks like we're gonna have to do a reboot. Now let me just do a quick review. So we've got our host name, domain name. We've got a management, in-band management IP address. We've got a default route. Okay, we did not configure our Ether channel link interfaces yet, so you know what, let's make sure that interface is up. VLAN's up, all that kind of stuff. So we've got those two interfaces up, so what we need to do is we need to create the port channel right there for those two 10 gig Ethernet interfaces to make sure all that's rocking and rolling. So we're going to do int t010. I'm actually going to do this in a range command. We're going to do switch port mode trunk. And you'll notice on the 9800 wireless LAN controllers, there is no spanning tree commands, right? Because it's not a switch. You get some features like it's a switch, but it's not. This is a wireless LAN controller. It's designed to talk 802.11 and 802.3 and terminate on the wire or terminate in the air. That's really its main purpose, right? So we're going to do channel group 11 mode on. I'm not a big fan of negotiation. Now with iOS XE, you can do link negotiation, LACP, and use, connect to Cisco switches or something else if you had them. But I like Ether channel, just turn the crap on. That's one less thing to worry about is, are my uplinks negotiating a bundle correctly, right? All right, so we're gonna let that work there, and now we'll write this. Okay, and let's try this one more time, see if we can get past this day 0. If not, it's just a reboot. There's literally nothing else to do. There we go. Okay, so like I said, it was probably just that we hadn't saved the configuration, so maybe the country code variable gets pulled from, NVRAM or something, I don't know. But for whatever reason, it wasn't liking it at first, but now it's letting us in just fine. Should be able to get there with Chrome also. If you get there with one, you'll get it on the other. So that's really it for the initial setup, okay, of a controller. In this next session, which I'll probably also post on YouTube, I'm not sure yet, we're going to do an upgrade to 1712. So we will show you guys that in the next one, but we have a working controller now. APs could register to it if we wanted to. And basically you continue from here the critical services to get things going. But that gets you through the initial bootstrapping of the box, right? I've defined my wireless management interface. If you're doing this on cloud controllers, there's another command you need to use, right? And that's the wireless configure WLC certificate. Because it does not have a MIC, so you have to use that. And there's some gotchas with the cloud because you only get those 3 gig interfaces by default, and that second interface needs to be your trunk port. Third interface is really useful for just SSO if you're doing that, but then I can add more interfaces if I needed to. There's a lot of options with these guys, man. That's the cool thing is, they're very flexible architectures, and in the last couple of years, we've deployed hundreds of these, and I'm not kidding. Our clients sometimes have 20 or 30 of these guys, and remote, smaller sites, and then they've got the big guys at the headquarters, and they're all SSO pairs. So we've done a lot of deployments of these. A lot of clients like them, and since the 17x codes, we've been very stable, a lot less buggier. It's come a long way, and a lot of much needed improvements just for general usability and working with the amount of APs we have in environments today. A lot of things have improved. So that's why we create so many new courses around 9800. So if you enjoyed this, subscribe. We do release stuff on YouTube, and or come over to wifitraining.com, sign up there, because with the newsletters and stuff, we give even more stuff away at wifitraining.com also. And then of course we have the all access pass, so you can access all this content around 9800 security, automation, IoT, and enterprise networking. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. See ya.